Welcome to Adults in the Kitchen. Today is going to be a little bit different. We are doing a demo video for you instead of a full 1 hour live, but I can assure you that we are going to include as much information as possible so that you guys can make this great stir fry and spring roll recipe. So in order to get started, the first thing that we're going to do, as we always do when we get in the kitchen, is wash our hands, and then we're going to start with some aromatics. The first thing we want to do is just prep some garlic and ginger. These are going to be the aromatics that are going to be in our stir fry. If there's any bad spots on your garlic, just trim it off. You don't have to throw out the whole thing. You can see I always have a garbage bowl in front of me to collect all of my compost, and then I'll add it to my compost bin after I'm done. Give your garlic a little smack, makes the peel come off super easy. I'm going to do 3 cloves of garlic because I love garlic. All right, so after I have my garlic done, I'm going to just slice it. I'm not mincing it, I'm just slicing it. And then I'm going to set that off to the side while I work on my ginger. Again, I'm just going to do some slices. It's really thin. A couple tablespoons of fresh ginger is going to add lots of flavor to this. And I just give it a nice thin slice. And now I have that ready to go into the pan. All right, now that we've finished with our garlic and our ginger, we're going to move on to our vegetables that we'll be using for our stir fry. I wanted to spend some time showing you guys some of the knife skills. I just hear all the time that people spend a lot of time in the kitchen just because they're not necessarily comfortable with how to prep their vegetables. So I'm going to show you how to do that, the ones we're using in our stir fry and our spring rolls. So the first thing I'm going to do is I've already peeled my carrot. I'm just going to trim off my 2 ends. And then first thing I'm going to do is cut it in half so it's a little bit more manageable. And then you've probably heard me talk a lot about the claw and holding our hands back. Round vegetables are very hard to cut. So the first thing that we want to do is make them a little more square. And that starts with just trimming a little edge off. So now we have a flat edge to work with. And most people cut their carrots in half or their potatoes and then they can't figure out why they can't get rid of that semicircle. I'm going to show you how to do that now. So what you're going to do is you're going to take your knife and you're going to cut across the top of your carrot. Instead of cutting it in half first, I'm going to cut it into 3 pieces. And then really, you're just going to keep cutting that into smaller and smaller pieces until you get it to the size that you want. Okay? Since it's for a stir fry and we want it pretty thin so it cooks really quickly, we're going to cut our carrot into a julienne. Practice, guys. Go slow at the beginning. Don't worry about speed. If you learn how to do this, the speed will come with practice and with time. First thing you always want to do when you're cutting onions is cut off the root end intact. The reason is to hold the onion together as you slice it. I'm just going to cut right through the root. I only need half for what we're doing today. So I'm going to peel this off. You can see I have a garbage bowl off to the side to collect all of my food waste, and then I'll add that to the compost a little later. I'm gonna use my towel and just clean up that, like a little bit of the ends from the root. And then for my stir fry, I'm just gonna kind of work with the lines that are already here in my onion, cut along those, leaving the root intact. So I'm taking my knife on a slight angle and cutting in to the onion. You can see my knife. A chef knife is a rocker knife, which means it's meant to stay with the tip on the cutting board and work its way across. So you're just using that up and down motion. Again, you're pushing away with your knife. You're not pulling towards yourself. And I'm just going to work across the top, and as I get to the middle where the root is, I'm just going to come most of the way through, not quite all the way through, and then I'm just going to trim this off at the end. And that's going to give me the nice slices that I'm looking for my stir fry. My peppers are up next. Since we're different for a stir fry, for our spring rolls, we want nice thin strips. So the best way to do that is to cut off the bottom, cut off the top. Again, just using the tip of our knife on the board. And for this, I'm going to use these ones in my stir fry. I'm going to set them off to the side for my spring rolls. And then we are just going to use our knife and it's going to open up our peppers. I'm going to cut down the side, and then we have all of our innards stay with the flesh. Neck inside down, it allows the knife to work a little easier going through your pepper. And then again, I'm using my little claw and I'm going to kind of just hold on to the pepper, and I am just going to make really nice thin strips, as thin as I can get them. Again, you can see the tip of my knife stays on the board as I work my way across. And as you practice this, you're going to be able to do this faster and faster while still getting those nice cuts. The cucumber we're going to handle very similarly to our carrot. Again, this is a round vegetable. We want to try and make it a little flatter and easier to work with. So we're just going to cut a little piece off the edge. And once again, we are going to slice across the top of our cucumber so we get nice square or long pieces in this case, instead of half circles or moons, however you would say it in your kitchen. So we just are going to avoid that. As well, I don't want to add a lot of extra water to my spring rolls, so I am actually going to cut the seeds out of the middle. And I'm going to set those aside. I'm not going to waste it. They'll be a nice little snack, but I don't want them in my spring rolls making it wet. So the zucchini is pretty much the same as the cucumber. I just wanted to show you this one because we don't have to cut any seeds out, so we can actually focus a little bit more on getting that nice, clean, straight cut that we're looking for. So the last thing that I want to show you guys is just how to cut the florets of your broccoli. So I'm starting with a broccoli crown. So it already has a fair bit of the stem cut off, but just to make this go a little bit faster, so I can just take my knife and actually just trim off kind of that point where they all join together. And that's gonna start to allow some of these to separate. So basically all you're going to do is just go in and use your knife and kind of separate where the stem joins in together into the crown. So you just work your way around here. And then once you've separated it all from like that main stem, you can cut it in half or in quarters depending on how big you want your florets to be. Or, you know, in a lot of cases you can just break it apart if you want them fairly small. And then they are going to be ready to go into our stir fry. So I have some bok choy here. And what I want to just talk about with your bok choy is your stem is going to take longer to cook than your leaves. So I'm actually going to separate the bok choy into those two sections so that when I put it in the pan, I'm going to layer it based on how long each of the ingredients take to cook. And I'm going to add the tops a little closer to the end. So for our sauce, I'm keeping it really simple. I'm using a couple of tablespoons of black bean garlic sauce. To that, I'm going to add some lime juice, a little bit of soy sauce, probably about 2 to 3 tablespoons, just to keep it saucy. I'm going to add a couple of teaspoons of garlic chili paste because I like it spicy. All right. And then I'm going to finish it with a little bit of honey for sweetness. You could do brown sugar as well if you don't have honey on hand. I'm just going to stir this in. And then this is going to be our sauce that we're going to cook the meat in and our vegetables. right, so I have a couple tablespoons of coconut oil heating up in my pan. I do want to use a high heat oil because I'm going to be cooking fairly quickly over high heat. So I'm going to do my beef in actually 2 batches. So what I did was I actually just took a steak and cut it up into nice strips. Hear that sizzle? That's what I'm looking for. I don't want to overcrowd my pan, so I'm just going to spread it out. Get a nice good color on this. And then we're going to do the second batch. So now we're going to start adding in our aromatics. So we're going to start with our onion because it's going to take a little bit longer to cook. So we're going to get that started for a minute or 2. And then we're going to add in our garlic and ginger. I'm just going to grab these and toss them in. Okay. So we're just going to give that a little stir. Let it cook for just a minute or 2, and then I'm going to start adding in the rest of our vegetables. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and add in my garlic and my ginger now. I've lowered the heat a little bit so that my garlic doesn't burn. Just going to give that a little stir, and then I'm going to start adding in the rest of my vegetables. So I'm going to start with my bok choy, the bottoms that I cut earlier. It smells so good in here already. Next up is going to be my broccoli. Again, we're just giving things a minute or so to cook. My peppers. Is anyone else excited for this stir fry? Because I sure am. Let's even get a little toss going here. The only thing I added to this that you didn't see was a little bit of cornstarch because I do want it to thicken up. For my sauce, and then I'm going to add some chicken stock. Just make it nice and saucy. So good. Okay, so now I've got all of my sauce, my veggies in here. We're going to give the broccoli a minute or two to just finish cooking. Then we're going to toss the meat back in because it's basically done. It's just going to incorporate some of the sauce. And then we're going to finish it off at the end for just a quick minute or two with our bean sprouts and the tops of our bok choy. It cooks so fast, so we're just going to stir it in at the very end so that they don't overcook. So for our spring rolls, fresh spring rolls, we don't want to confuse those with the ones that we're going to deep fry. We are not deep frying these. They are going to stay completely raw. We're not cooking anything. So any ingredients you want to put in your fresh spring rolls, you want to make sure that it is already cooked. Okay, so this is what it looks like. Sometimes it'll be square. You can find it in the international section of most grocery stores. So that's what you're going to be looking for. I already have one here that I've been soaking in some warm water. Warm water is going to make it go faster. So it is nice and soft and pliable now. And I'm going to be able to fill my veggies in. All right, so we're going to spread this out, and you want to work fairly quickly so it doesn't dry or stick to the cutting board. And then what we're going to do is we're actually just going to kind of line up our vegetables because we'll be able to see through our spring roll. We're just going to line up our veggies. So we have our carrots that we cut, some cucumbers, some red peppers, spread it out a little bit. You could certainly add a protein here as well. A little bit of zucchini, like if I had some leftover shrimp or something like that. Again, fully cooked, that would be a great addition to this. And I'm going to add a little bit of avocado for a little bit of healthy fat. And then I'm going to do it kind of like a burrito. I'm going to fold up my 2 sides. Okay, I'm going to lift this over the whole top of all of my vegetables. And I'm going to pull it nice and tight. And we're gonna roll it up. Okay. We're gonna cut it on the bias because it looks pretty that way. And then there you have one. All right, so I let this hang out on the stovetop for just about 2 minutes. And now I'm just gonna pour this all in. I'm gonna serve this up family style. So here we go. If you are doing the low carb thing, a great addition to this would be some cauliflower rice. If not, you could serve this over noodles. You could serve this over rice, whatever works best for you. All right, everybody, so here it is, our beautiful beef stir fry. I decided to top it off with some more bean sprouts and some green onions. I cannot wait to dig into this. It smells amazing. I hope your kitchen smells as fantastic as mine does. And I just want to remind everybody that the Kitchener Market is open from 7 a.m. to 2 p.m. on Saturdays, so you can get your meats, cheeses, fruits, vegetables, and so many other great products at the Kitchener Market. That local line is happening now, so if you want to skip the line, just head over to the kitchenermarket.ca and check out the online ordering. It's available from Monday to Thursday, and they will have your orders packed and ready for you to pick up at the Kitchener Market during regular hours on Saturdays. Don't forget to grab a snack and a coffee from Food Hall, which is also open right now for takeout. I have had a great time with you. Once again, it's Chef Nicole from Meals Without Madness here on behalf of the Kitchener Market. We look forward to seeing you guys back here online or out at the Kitchener Market really soon. Have a great day.